And what I'd like to do is for you to please share the points that we went over and anything that you find relevant to our newly licensed or non-licensed agents moving into their, getting licensed and moving into their district promotions. Take it away.
Yeah, so with one thing is really important is getting off to a fast start. The fast start is really, really important. People are, let's be honest, we're all here to make money, and you can't get into that situation by dragging your feet, taking your time, and being hesitant to do things. Following the instructions that are laid out, if the whole plan has been laid out, and if you follow that plan where someone is asking you to make the name list, they're asking you to set appointments, they're asking you to get on the trainings, and they're asking you to follow through with studying, that is what it takes to get you to the money that you're here for. So we have to get off to a fast start, and you have to do that by listening to your upline and doing what they ask. That's really, really important. I have Parmisha and Latanya. They're going for the gusto right now. They're going hard at it. They're studying. They're getting on training appointments. They're making the phone calls. They're even going beyond what I've asked them to do, and they're making doing things on their own to reach out to people and get in front of people right now. So that's what's putting money in their pocket. That's putting them in situations where they're going and buy extra information. You can do that too. Mike, are you there? Oh, seems like it's just us. Let me see here. Well, no, Mike is here.
Yeah, we're on. Everyone else, just let's mute our mics. Everybody else.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I apologize. Keep going. But yes, if you would, please mute your mic. I don't know where Jay's at on here. I think he got kicked off. But if you would, just please mute. Keep going, Daryl.
Yeah, so that fast start is really important. Getting in front of people. You have to get in front of people for everything. Whether that's to recruit them, to bring them into the business, to work with you. You want to get in front of people to make sales. You want to get in front of people to learn the presentation. So getting off to a fast start and getting in front of people is really, really important. I don't know if you heard anything else I had said, Mike, but yeah,
No, I did. And one thing I'll make very clear on that too, Daryl, is you mentioned your recruits that are working hard and doing things. There's a lot of, we got to understand, how do you get in front of people? That's one of the biggest challenges for people, is staying in front of people. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do
in
it.
her room with the suitcase.
Hey guys, please mute your mic, please. Thank you. So having that said, moving into this, you want to make sure that you have a system like Tarmisha. Tarmisha has been on in the business for a little less than a month. Tarmisha, or Daryl, how many training sales does Tarmisha have?
Tarmisha has maybe about 8 training sales right now.
8 training sales. Okay. Now, how many recruits does Tarmisha have?
She has 1 that's in the system, and she's about to get 2 more coming. Well, no, she has 1 in the system, 2 more coming in within the next couple of days. 1 has a license already, previous license.
Okay, so here's what happens. Okay, so Daryl went full time. He started working with people. Now, Daryl, you can build a client base simply from talking to a lot of people. I know a lot of y'all are heavily involved with your church. A lot of y'all have big families. A lot of y'all have close friends. You can build a client base from doing that, and I love that. I do that all the time. But the biggest thing for me as a builder is to do what Daryl's doing right now. And that's to show Tarmisha how to make a significant income. And the only way to do that is to train her in her warm market. So the way this is supposed to work, and it's the same thing with Haley and Jay, the way this is supposed to work is Daryl teaches Tarmisha everything that he knows. Just like when I would ride to Tallulah with DJ. We're talking about the business, what we know about the business, all that type of stuff, with the point of, number 1, becoming close and becoming friends. But number 2, from a business standpoint, Tarmisha should be able to do a lot of what Daryl is doing this time next month. So what does she have to do? What does the new recruit have to do? They have to learn how to set up. First off, they have to make a list. People that would come to your wedding. People, and listen, don't misunderstand this. And David Hamilton's on here. He's one of the best at this. We're not worried about who'd be interested. We're not worried about who would be good, although I want to know who would be good. We're not interested. We don't care who would buy life insurance, although we're going to sell some life insurance. If they would come to your wedding, if they would come to your birthday party, Get Daryl in front of them. Get David in front of them, because you never know. You never know what's going to happen, guys. The first 3 appointments that I did, I made sales, but I did not recruit them. They have gotten me in front of more people than anybody else. That's my aunts, uncles, and my dad, who passed away in 2014. They were my biggest source of referrals from a training appointment that I did, right? So with Daryl, what he's doing is he's training Tarmisha on how to make sales, how to get to district, but most importantly, that we don't talk about enough, developing a reputation. So having that said, in this beginning of her career, from what Daryl and Tarmisha are doing right now, that ought to create more sales throughout the rest of her career. Why? Because these people that y'all are seeing in the beginning, whenever somebody brings up life insurance or retirement or whatever it may be, they're going to think of Tarmisha down the road. And that's how this is supposed to work. Yes, Haley's getting a bunch of training sale money. She's about to pass her license. That's all fine and good. She's going to be on a 50% contract. That's exciting. But the most exciting thing about it is the reputation that is being built and the new leads that are being created. And please don't misunderstand how important that is. But the reality of it is, it's real simple, Daryl. And I know David speaks the same way. In the beginning, get yourself licensed, learn how to overcome objections through appointments, and study for the exam. We do the rest. It's our responsibility to get you promoted. And I know, Quentin's doing a phenomenal job of this. So Jay, I'm gonna let you go next, my man. I know you had to step away for a second, but you're one of the best I've seen and the best I've ever worked with when it comes to, creating more. I see you do it. You have some of the biggest premium numbers from a personal standpoint that I've ever seen. So if you would, Jay, take it away and share with us what it is that we went over and also anything you find relevant.
Wonderful. Well, first, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak this morning. And as always, DJ did, wonderful job. And, congratulations again to Quentin for being top dog and putting in the work. What we kind of talk about on the insurance side, I've run into a lot of objections. And the 3 most common that I get, first and foremost, is when a person is talking about from an insurance perspective, when I'm talking about selling that. So I'm gonna look at this 2 ways. The first thing is when I have somebody that I'm working with that wants to talk about insurance, and they're like, I don't want to know anything about insurance. What happens is the first objection that I get from somebody is that what they will say is, I'm not a salesperson. The top objection I get for selling life insurance, I'm not a salesperson. So what I tell them, I say, you know what? Neither am I. But the reality is this: I share information with people in a non-aggressive way. I educate the client about what insurance does, because it's really income protection. And as a result of that, if it makes sense and a person sees it logically, then it's just a matter of putting in the numbers and submitting the application. The second objection that I get is a person that says, I don't know anyone. And I love that objection, because the reality is the first thing I do is I'll ask them, do you have any brothers or sisters? They may say, I have a brother, I have a sister. Or they'll say, you know what, I don't have anybody. Then what I'll say is this: okay, do you have any friends? Okay. And when they're like, well, yeah, I do have friends. I said, okay, if we were in a situation where I could sit down with you and that family member or that friend and show you the process of talking to them and educating them about what we are doing, not necessarily about, do they need to get a policy, but educating them about the product. Would you give me benefit of the doubt to help you in that area? And most people, if they are coachable and if they're really serious about trying to do something special with this company, they'll let me do that. And the third objection I get is when a person says, well, what if they say no? My comeback is so simple. What if they say yes? See, the thing is, you have to look at this: is the glass half full or if the glass is half empty? And the reality is this: not everybody is going to say yes. But then I also bring it back. You said yes. You said yes. Somebody didn't automatically prejudge you that you would say no about getting insurance. So you said yes. And so for that, because you said yes, give them benefit of the doubt. Okay. So that's when I'm talking about it from an agent perspective, somebody that's working with me. The most common objections I get, Coach, when I'm talking about it to just a person that I'm selling insurance to or talking to them about insurance, the number one objection I get is, well, I have insurance through my job. And I'm like, that's wonderful. I said, but just understand that job insurance is not portable, and that is paid out to active employees. So when you step away from that job, then you're going to be in a situation where that policy goes back to that company. And in corporate America, when jobs are concerned, the reality is this: life insurance and health insurance are not necessarily benefits. Those are luxuries. They don't have to give that to you. So when a person tells me they have insurance through their job, I'm like, that's great. I don't bash it, but I say, are you aware that when you step away from your job, you don't get to keep your life insurance? Oh, they told me it gets to go. I said, well, go to HR. See, the thing is that what happens in all of this, coach, is that any objection you give me, I'm not going to fight the objection. I'm going to educate the objection. I'm not going to fight it and dispute and say, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. It's not a scam. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with the information. And so for me, when I talk and sit down with new recruits and they give me these objections about, well, I don't want to sell life insurance, I'm like, neither do I. That's tough. But we can both agree that if I educate you and I put you in a position to where you have the facts and you are armed with the correct information, it's no reason why a person that makes a logical conclusion would not want to get a policy. So I don't know, coach, based on what we talked about, if that answered your questions. If I need to elaborate or do something else, I certainly will.
No, I want to hit on what you said, though, because, the reality of it is, and I said this the other night at the opportunity meeting, people are already getting ripped. Okay. They're already underpaid, underserved. And I use that as fuel to learn what I need to learn and say what I need to say. Okay. And that's what you just went over. When you become someone who really believes that in your mind, that they're already in the worst possible situation and you're only going to improve it, you learn what you need to learn with confidence. And here's what I mean by that. Let's just say I was talking to Cole Denny and he said, I'm not a salesperson. I'd say, great. I'm not looking for salespeople. Mm-hmm. I'd say, here's what I'm looking for, Cole. Do you feel like, I'd ask him, do you like your job? And he'd say, yes, no, or maybe. Doesn't matter. I'd say, do you feel like you're getting paid what you're worth? Yes, no, or maybe. I say, Cole, what I'm looking for is people who want to correct an injustice, who want to join my team and do something special with their life. I'm not looking for salespeople. I'm not looking for tall people, skinny people, white people, black people. I'm looking for winners. And I think you might be one of those people. Would you give me the benefit of the doubt? And I just erased all that stuff. Now, you're going to get these objections because people make assumptions, right, Jay?
Yes.
That's human nature.
Yes.
People make those assumptions. If you saw me when I joined this business, you would look at me and say, there ain't no way in heck that's a salesperson. And you know what? You're absolutely correct. I wasn't. And I'm not right now. I'm a get real person. I'm a logical person. I'm a comparison person. If you're already in a tough spot, well, I'm going to help you get out of that spot if you really want to get out of it. And then listen, it's that whole beef stroganoff thing, Jay. If y'all hadn't heard the beef stroganoff story, let me tell it to you real quick in honor of my man, Tyler Craig. Guy walks over to the neighbor and he says, listen, I need to borrow your lawnmower. And the neighbor says, well, you can't borrow my lawnmower. And the neighbor says, and the guy says, well, why not? He said, well, my wife's cooking beef stroganoff tonight. Well, the guy's like, what in the world does that have to do with me borrowing your lawnmower? And he says, well, nothing, but if I don't want you to borrow my lawnmower, any old excuse will do, right? And that's what people are saying. They're trying to figure out something to talk themselves out of it based off the assumptions that they've already made. Now, you got to be a pro, because sometimes people say, and here's one other thing, and I'm gonna bring up the top dog. It's real simple, Jay. If you said, Mike, I'm just not a salesperson, I say, listen, I totally understand, but let me ask you a question, Jay. I met with a guy last week paying $100 a month for a life insurance policy. I gave them, for $50 a month, I gave them double the coverage. Obviously a way bigger benefit. Would you agree with that, Jay?
Absolutely.
Do you think I really had to twist that person's arm to get them to switch their policy?
Not at all.
Not at all. I just had to reason with them, compare. He was already getting ripped. I just put it in front of him. Jay, I'm gonna put one. Say one other thing about that. If I had to continue to sell him on that deal, then I'm gonna let him just stay where he's at. Number one, I'm not a pushy person. Number two, I'm not gonna beg somebody to improve their situation. That's not selling, Jay. That's just really putting it in front of them and comparing and moving on to the next thing. And that's what we do. And that's going to ease the tension if that's really the issue, right? Great job, Jay. I think that was one of the most important things. And then last thing with the selling is understanding people don't know what you know. Okay. People do not know what you know. So please be patient. Be urgent, be direct, but also be patient. Do not get upset with people. I know Jay, sometimes I can tell when Jay gets a little frustrated, he starts, his ears start puffing out, his face gets a little red. You know, I try to do that on purpose sometimes, but that's because me and Jay are buddies. That's my boy. You know, David Hamilton, I try to do the same thing every now and again, but that we got a very close relationship. Don't do that to new people. Quentin, the top dog, man, I'm so proud of you and what you're doing. I see you locking arms with David and Keisha and the team that you are growing. Your skill set is amongst the best in our office. So please, Quentin, take it away. Hit on those points, my friend.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate all those beautiful things you said. I appreciate it. Jay and Daryl, y'all killed it, bro. I got some notes here. And a couple of the things that y'all said will lead into what I'm supposed to be covering. I'm supposed to be covering objections when you're trying to recruit people. And one of the things Coach said that I put a little star next to was, I'm not going to beg you to improve your situation, right? So that's a big deal. I bet you, if we asked Daryl, you wouldn't have quit any job that was better than this to come do this, right? So I tell most people this, like on the team, we have this saying, we say now, we don't recruit people, we rescue them, right? Because a lot of people don't realize where they're at and where it's taking them until we make it clear. So I'm really not recruiting you. I'm rescuing you from a problem you didn't even know you had, right? I'm like an Apple salesperson selling stuff to you, you didn't know you needed, right? So you don't need to be a salesperson there. You just need to educate people. To recruit people, most of the objections we get are usually the same. When you ask someone if they want to come do what we do to improve their position, they usually say, well, I don't have the time. Have you all heard that before? I just don't have the time and I'm so busy. I'm good. So I tell most people is, if you're that busy and you're struggling like you tell me you are, maybe you need to change what you're doing. Number one, right? If all your time has been taken up by someone else to get you to where you don't want to be, would you not like to look at another option? So for most people, whenever they say time is an issue, that's not really what they're saying, right? I always address, if you had an extra 2 to 3 hours in the week, which everybody has, and you could use that to improve your position financially, would you be interested in looking at what I do? If you look at it, it's not going to hurt you, right? And you could make a decision from there, because I don't have to beg or convince you about what we do. I just you need to look at it. And like Jay said, is there any logical reason why you shouldn't do this, right? The second one is, I got a lot going on. Who's heard that before? I just got a lot. I got a lot going on, right? And I always say, compared to who? Who you have a lot going on compared to who and to what? Because when people tell you they got a lot going on, it's usually just they're trying to figure out how can they watch their favorite TV show after work. That's mostly what it is. Let's be clear, right? So people that have a lot going on, I always ask them, how many hours in a day do you have? Well, 24. Well, so does the person that's a business owner and doing a bunch of other things. Why could they get more out of their day than you? It's because you just haven't looked at a business plan or a schedule that'll help you maximize your day, right? And then who was there the time, the Taylor's oldest time classic said, I don't have the money right now. I've heard that. I don't have. But now, you know what gets me mad? I started doing this in the beginning of my presentation. I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant. But you let me go through this whole presentation, then you're going to tell me you don't have no money. But anyway, that's me. Let's move on from there. So when most people say they don't have the money, I always ask them a simple question. When do you think you'll have it? That's a trick question, because if you don't have it today, you're not going to have it next month, because your bills might go up more next month and your paycheck is not following. You know what's going to go up? Inflation's going to go up. Your check don't match that. So guess what? I tell people this. If he's on the call, if he could tell you, that's what I said to her. I said, listen, you need to make yourself uncomfortable today to make sure you make more money next month. It's as simple as that, because you're going to have to get it. Wait, if Miss Camila is on this call, she could tell you how that went, right? Miss Camila said to me, I don't have no money right now. I only got Valentine's, man. I got some money for Valentine's, and that's it. I'm like, don't worry about it. Trust me, next Valentine's is going to be the best Valentine's ever, right? So let's go ahead and move on. So the money issue usually is not a money issue, because if you break down people's money for them, most times people spend more than $124 a month on fast food, on cigarettes, on energy drinks, on coffee, which they can make at the house. You just have to make them understand that, right? Now, on the flip side of that, there's usually people that say they've never heard of the company. So I don't know about the company. I'm not sure. And if have you heard that before? I'm not sure about the company. I'm not sure about jumping all the way. So number one, you don't have to quit your job. We're not telling you to just quit your job, call them to them, be like, F you and just come do what we do. No. We're saying this. Number one, if you don't know the company, let me give you some more information. Do you have a smartphone? Do you know how to work Google on the internet machine? What sources do you trust to get your information from? Right? If you just type the name Primerica into Google right now, the company is doing so good. You have to do more research just to find something negative about the company. That's how good we're doing now. And I don't know how much research anybody did to get, like when they go apply to Walmart or somebody tells them, hey, Walmart's hiring, they don't say, hey, I need to do my research about Walmart. And here's what's crazy. I haven't spoken to anyone in a long time who works at Walmart who says, listen, I love my job so much, I think I'm just going to do this for the rest of my life. They know the horror stories just like me and you, but they'll go work in these places. So we just have to provide people with information. Does that make sense? Like I tell people, I don't have to sell you anything, and I'm not going to beg you to improve your situation. I'm here to rescue you. You don't know. Okay. Now, those were the main ones. Does anyone have any objections that they would like me to help them with that they've come across and they're like, this is crazy? Any objections? I'm open to some questions.
Quentin, I have a question. Whenever, I don't know about you, but you mentioned it. Whenever somebody tells me they do not have the money, which I did not have the money, majority of people on here did not have the money, I take that personally from my presentation that I didn't do a good enough job of selling the dream, right? I didn't do a good enough job at explaining the value to that person. Okay. I don't write them off as stupid. I write it off as, okay, I didn't do a good enough job. And I'll simply say to them, Quentin, listen, I didn't have the money either, man. I'll be honest with you. But I realized at that moment that I'm a 25-year-old man that doesn't have $100 to get involved with a business. And obviously I must be losing the financial game. I must not be in the right game if I don't have $100. And what I try to do there is I'm not jabbing them directly, but I am jabbing them because I know how it felt and I know something that they don't know. Is that kind of what you do whenever you have that happen? I know you've had it happen quite a bit. You're recruiting so many people.
Absolutely, coach. And it's one of those things where, again, because of all the great coaching and training you guys have provided, I remember when we had training with Mr. Hoyt, and he explains how to read people based on their personality type. Based on the personality type, there's a way that you talk to people. Like I know for sure, you are an A-type personality. If I was trying to recruit you, I would definitely need to jab you, coach. I need to say, so you're telling me you don't have $100 to make your family life better. That would have moved you in a different direction. If you are a relationship type person, I would say, so you're telling me you can't afford to invest $100 in yourself to improve your family's life, to improve the people around you. That would be different. So saying the same thing, but to different people. And I understand the money situation, especially in the times that we live. So you have to make it something clear to them. That's why I always make sure I explain to them, if you don't make a change sooner than later, it'll for sure become impossible. So if you don't have $100 today, you're not going to have it next month, because next month something's going to break in the house. Next month, one of the kids is going to need to start some type of sporting event at school, which they need $500 for some pom-poms to do cheerleading. So you might as well make yourself uncomfortable now to improve your situation later on.
That's so good. And listen, guys, what we got to do, if y'all have any questions or objections you want to hear, I know I'm going to hit on the pyramid one because I know everybody hears that. I mean, David Hamilton hears it 3 or 4 times a week. I'm sure all the people he's dealing with.
That's my favorite one.
But that's the favorite one. But it's also the easiest to overcome. But I'm going to hit on that in a second. But I want to iterate. I want you to really understand what Quentin is doing and why he is so effective. And I've heard him on Zoom. I've heard him talking. I've heard David do it. You know, his DNA is on there with Quentin. And it's basically getting real with people. Guys, don't be afraid. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If Quentin said to me at my early stages of the business before I got involved, he said to me, you don't have $100 to help your family improve, we might have a fight. You know, I was a little hard-headed. I got an ego. So don't be too direct, but also don't be too passive, because the reality of it is if you level with me and I can see that you're genuine, which you can see that and hear that in Quentin, if you do that, I'm going to buy in. I'm going to buy in. And Blake did that with me. My upline did not. Thank God he talked to me, but he didn't buy into me. He couldn't buy into himself because he had self-confidence issues. But Blake had the persona and charisma and gave off this vibe that if you listen to me, you're going to have success. And I needed somebody to do that with me. So number one, people skills are very, very, very important. Okay. Understand, like I said a minute ago, people already getting ripped. David, we know they're getting ripped. Everybody around us is getting ripped. It's not a secret, but how are your people skills, right? Understanding, do you look people in the eye? Does your breath stink? And I'm not making a joke, right? You got to be aware of these types of things. And then you got to be genuine and sincere, right? Because the majority of people are going to make excuses. What they're really saying is, again, I don't have the money. I don't think that it's worth it. So you got to, not necessarily do you have to sell Primerica as much as you have to show them where they are. Okay. I cannot tell you how many times that I've met with somebody that works at Subway or Home Depot or Sonic or the military or whatever it is. And I'll ask them, I'll say, Quentin, you make $15 an hour at your job. Okay. You work 40 hours a week. Okay. You make around $400 or $500 a week. If you went from A to B with Mary and showed them how to do this $83 sale for tripling coverage, do you realize that in your current situation, $15 an hour, I just showed you how to make what you make in a week in 1 hour, David? You're telling me you don't have $124 and you're broke? That's what I'm saying without saying it. Now, after that, David, after that, Quentin, I'm not begging. All right. This is where I separate from a lot of people. I'm not begging you. I'm going to follow up with you, but I'm going to put it out there very clearly that the 124 is not the problem. What we're trying to do is find out if they are shooting bull, if they're blowing smoke, right, David? Because they're going to say any old thing if they don't really want to do it or they're unsure. But what you have to do to be effective is find out which one they are. You know how I do that? Last thing I'll say about it, Quentin, I say, all right, Quentin, I understand you don't have the money, but you also listen. I meet with a lot of people, Quentin, and unfortunately, there's grown adults who just don't be honest about whether they want to get involved or not get involved. I'm not saying you're one of those people. I don't think you're one of those people. But if you don't have the money to do this business, do you agree this business will help your financial situation? You do? Okay. Well, when will you have the money? Will you have it this Friday? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get the information and let's put it in the system. And we're going to go ahead and get you started. That way, Friday, it's already going to come out. We're good to go. Right then and there, David, I find out, is he blowing smoke or is he ready to rock? And I assume he's ready to rock until he's not. And when he's not, I go find somebody else. It's really that simple, right? And I think we got to take that mentality. It's a numbers game, guys. We can't count on everybody, but you should try to count on everybody until they tell you they're not going to do it or until they fall through the cracks, right? Last thing I'll say, David, is this a pyramid? Right? Is this a pyramid? If you hadn't heard that, you need to talk to some more folks. It's real simple. I've never made one penny from signing up somebody on an IBA. Okay, let's be really clear here. You do not make money from recruiting. You build wealth from recruiting. And how do we do that, David? We show other people how to build wealth. That's the name of the game. But I'm not going to get after people like that in the very beginning. I'll ask them real quick. And look, Jay's going to find, and I know David's got some in his toolbox. We're going to post these overcoming objections from the legends in our company that did them on SoundCloud. And we're about to come very, very good. That way, when somebody says something silly like pyramid or scam or da-da-da-da, you can fire right out and you don't have to hesitate. You don't have to call your upline. You know what to say. But I'm going to say this, Jay. Jay McKinney asked me when he showed up, thank God Melissa was there. He said, well, isn't this a pyramid? I said, Jay, what do you do for a living? He said, I work in the school system. Okay. So if you work in the school system, let's say you're a teacher. Okay. Teachers make a certain amount of money. They're very underpaid. We all know that. But who's ahead of Jay, unmute. Who's the boss of the teacher? Who's above the teacher?
We got principals. The principals of the school.
Principals.
The teacher.
Okay. Does the teacher make as much money as the principal?
Not at all.
Okay. What has to happen for the teacher to make as much money as the principal?
The teacher has to become a principal.
Come on. What about who's above the principal?
Superintendent.
Does the superintendent make as much? I mean, the principal make as much money as the superintendent?
Not at all.
All right. What has to happen for the principal to make as much money as the superintendent?
The principal has to leave out of the district and become a superintendent somewhere else.
Come on, that sounds like a pyramid. Well, hold on. So you're telling me not only can that teacher not make as much money as the principal, but they also do not control the amount of money somebody has to leave, die, or get fired, retire?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me, Jay?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. That sounds a little more like a scam to me. But here's what I got here, though, David. David, you work in the fast food industry? Unmute, David.
Can you hear me, Coach?
I can hear you. Have you ever worked in the food industry?
When I was 15. For 6 months.
When you was 15, what did you do? What 6 months? Okay. Where did you work, David?
McDonald's, my first job.
Were you a cook?
Cook, cashier, receiving, everything. Watch,
Okay.
watch.
Did you have like so? Who was above you? Was shift manager?
Yeah, I had a shift manager, and then I also had an assistant manager, and then I had a store manager.
Okay. Did you make as much money as any of them?
Hey, no. I
Okay.
was 15.
Well, that sounds a little bit like a pyramid to me. And here's the worst case, David, because I also worked in the fast food industry. As a manager, I would never, ever, ever make as much money as the owner. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely agree.
Okay. I could never be the owner. I could never be the owner, right? So whatever you want to call it, pyramid, scam, whatever it is, see that right there, I have no control of my income. I have no control of my promotions. What you're really asking me, David, is this one of those things where you make money from signing people up? Is that about right? Because you're smart enough to know that the New York Stock Exchange, the Better Business Bureau, the insurance regulation who rated us at the top of the list, they're not going to put a pyramid or a scam. Those organizations are not going to rate us that high if this is not legit. You're smart enough to know that. But what I'm asking is, and a lot of people ask me this, they ask, is this one of those things where you make money from recruiting people, putting people up under you? And the answer is
Yeah, do you make
absolutely
money from
not.
other people?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You make
Right.
money
I
from
get
other
it.
people?
Oh, yeah. I make money, but here's the difference. I show them how to make money and I get bonused off that. I get paid what's an override. You see, when you worked at McDonald's, somebody showed you how to cook, how to make drinks. They did all these different things, David, and they did that because that's their job. But ultimately, it's so the owner makes more money. You see, when you made that cheeseburger and chicken nuggets for me the other day, you got paid $10 an hour. Well, the owner wasn't there and he made more than that. So let's be real here. What happens is everybody goes and gets a job. It's not because of anything other than somebody is benefit or making money. Here at Primerica, which is why we are rated #1 when it comes to an opportunity, whether it be part-time or full-time, my income is generated from the money I show other people how to make. Having that said, this is the short story of it, David. If I show you how to make $3,000 a month part-time in addition to your McDonald's income, is that a good or bad thing for you and your family?
It's a good thing.
Okay. Do you care if the company pays me an additional $1,000 to $2,000 since I showed you how to do it?
No, sir. As long as I get paid, that's all I know.
From there, guys, when you level with people, winners win, losers lose, but you got to put that out in front of them, right? If David's smart enough to say, you know what, I don't know it all. Maybe I should listen to somebody who has what I want and is open-minded. We're about to take over the world, but let me tell you this, David could be the smartest guy in the world. He could have a PhD. He could have all the licenses. He could be everything. He could go to church all the time, be a man of God. He could be the best husband, best father, all these different things. But if he's closed-minded, Art Williams ain't showing that boy how to make any money. If y'all don't know who Art Williams is, he's the founder of our company. So, guys, all I'm telling you, we're wrapping up. We're done. I just want to say this. Put yourself in a position from a skill standpoint. Those guys are professionals you just heard. They're all the next RVPs. They can rattle this stuff off anywhere, anytime. You got to be able to do that. You got to be able to do that. And then from there, you understand, okay, I'm ready. If Mike Hayward, David Hamilton walked up to me and said, hey, I'm ready to work, you can train them. You can overcome objections for them. You can talk to people for them and with them and do the things that you need to do, but you got to put in the time to do that, because here's what's going to happen. Somebody's going to come across you that could explode your business. Okay. Somebody's going to come across you that really wants your help to go to the next level, and y'all are going to go to the next level together. Will you be ready? You got to put yourself in a situation where you're ready. And that becomes with licensing, setting appointments, and lastly, being able to train other people. So wrapping us up, David, please very briefly explain the importance of getting to the Fast Start School Labor Day weekend in New Orleans. Tell us why we need to be there.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Coach. So, yeah, appreciate everybody talking too, man. They did a amazing job. Jay, DJ, Quentin, Top Dog. Man, so the purpose of getting to the Fast Start School, you don't want to miss it. My first Fast Start School, when I went there, I heard school on the end of it, and I had already put in like 14 years of school, and I was like, I'm not going to another school. I'm good with school, right? Because all I had was desk, notebooks, hours of sitting in there taking notes, right? But when I went there, man, it was like totally something I've never seen before, right? I showed a video of the convention, because you see Primerica as this, right? But imagine being in a room with about 3,000 people, none but high energy, people telling their stories that came from where we came from and that worked where we worked at and had the same things that happened to them that you think that you the only ones getting. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You somebody tell you feel like you the only one been told no in Primerica, right? No, I'm good. And so you feel like, man, they're attacking me. Man, do you know the greats that took as many no's? And that's why they make so much money. The more no's you take, the more money you make. I'm going to say it again. The more no's that you take, the more money you make, right? And so you're going to get a chance to hear people's stories. You're going to get a chance to hear where people come from, how marriages was mended strictly because of how they worked together in Primerica. Strictly on how that, because they went on a trip that mended their marriage. You're going to see how kids and their parents come together and start a legacy. You're going to hear a guy that was a music teacher that only made about $20,000 a month that really was the biggest skeptic before he came in Primerica. Rob, we was at convention, me and Keisha and Rob, we was together, and I was asking, because that was my major, music, and my mom told me, boy, you can't do nothing but be a band director. Now, how much money you going to make doing the band? And here I am in Primerica with a guy that has a music degree, had the same mindset I had, like, man, ain't no way you're going to make no money like that in Primerica. Now he makes over $1 million+ a year with a music degree? Come on. You're going to hear him tell his story. You're going to hear him tell his story about his kids, how his kids went to RVP before him. You're going to hear him tell his story. You're going to hear the real stuff come out. So you cannot miss it. I always tell people this, and I'm going to say it. We got what's called a pep rally week next week with our team. So you're going to hear people tell stories, but I'm going to tell you this. The minute you decide to say, you know what, I'm going to Fast Start School, be prepared, because the enemy is coming. The devil going to try to come in. All of a sudden, you're going to have a water leak bust in your house, 4 flat tires, all kids going to be acting crazy, dog going to jump out the house. You're going to see all kind of cats falling from trees. I'm just telling you, all kind of crazy stuff will come up that have never come up before. Never come up before, but when you make a decision to change your life forever, all of a sudden, man, you know what? I had this come up. I'm not going to be able to make it to Fast Start School. Somebody stole my engine out my car. Well, don't worry about it, baby. We'll pick you up. Don't worry about it. We'll get you a ride, right? You're going to hear all kind of stories. So you make sure you don't be that person with that story. I'm going to say that again. Don't be that person with that story. Get in the building. Get in the place. When Keisha and I came, we made a decision that this is our shot. Keisha was like, man, this is it. This is our shot. I could tell you stories after stories of people that have come to Fast Start School. Tyler came to Fast Start School, came back and changed his whole life. So guys, don't miss it. Don't be that one. Don't let your team miss it. Tell them you got to be in the building. I don't care how you get there. If you got to ride on top of the car all the way to New Orleans, whatever you got to do, get to Fast Start School. Hop in somebody's suitcase. Whatever you got to do, get there, get in the building. We want to see you there. September 1st, September 2nd, all white. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Be draped up, dripped out. Y'all, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be looking fresh. So I'm not that type of all white guy, because you know, I will probably just, something would just happen to get on my white suit. I don't know.
That's all
Something
right.
about, what'd you say, coach?
That's
You gonna
all
give me
right,
another
Dave.
one? You gonna give me
we'll
another
be
one?
all right. I got some. My wife carries around that for that stuff because I'm sloppy. It's it's like a little stick that you get stains off. She's got.
Don't let me
got
catch
that?
you up in there with no bill ball. Let me catch you in there with school with no bill ball. But it's gonna be good, guys.
I'll
We
do it.
want
I
you
ain't
in
got no
the
problem. Yeah, great job, David. One thing I'll say, and we're done. Understand this. In this business, we all know that you got to trust in the beginning. You got to learn to trust and give the benefit of the doubt. Trust me when I tell you this. Okay. First off, I went to my fast start school. Blake told me that the room was covered, everything is good. And I get there and we're in a room with like 5 other people. But you know what? Once I got in that building and I realized what I was involved with, I didn't care about all that. None of that mattered. And yes, things are going to come up. Things are going to happen. You know, any old little excuse, just don't let that be. Just please trust me on this. And another thing I'll say, and I'm going to hit in, we're going to enjoy our weekend. When you leave that fast start school, if you're not a licensed district leader, you're going to wish you were a licensed district leader. Okay. So please don't show up and not be licensed and not be a district leader. Do what you have to do. You've got plenty of time right now. You're not going to want to sit back and have to go study and do all the different things. I know Jay can attest to that. Quentin, Daryl, you're going to want to be in a position where you can rock and roll, and you're going to want to be in a position where you have momentum going into the fast start school. I would be extremely excited if I'm those 3 people that just spoke. Daryl McNeil is on 13,000 personal premium. He's about to promote Tarmisha, Latanya. That's where you want to be, but you cannot let up. You're going to leave that meeting and you're going to be extremely excited that you got yourself in a position to take over the world after the fast start school, or you're going to be upset that you didn't work harder leading up to the fast start school. Please trust me on that, guys. Like I said, we are done. David mentioned it. It's all white. So if you don't have all white pants, which I do not, I'm going to have to go buy some. But if you don't have all white, please do your best to try to figure that out. But look, if you can't do it, you can't do it. We want you there anyway. Just wear a white shirt. So I love y'all. Let me know. I'm going to be here all week working. I want to help promote some district leaders. Let me know what I can do to help you. I'll do as many training appointments as we got to do. Daryl, Quentin, David, Jay, thank y'all. Jay, go fix that water leak. I know you're itching to do it. So love y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your day.